Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from an inmate at the county jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press 2.
Well. Look who finally ended up in jail. Yeah, yeah. I've been talking to a few people in jail, but I just kind of wonder. We do what we can out here to help you out, and then you lose faith in yourself. Yep, yep, and that's usually the case. A lot of finances get in people's way, but I kind of wonder. You were kind of slipping behind everybody's back and getting out there dealing in those drugs again, and you knew the risk. Well, you're not going to find too much sympathy in that field. And I seem to recall you were telling other people that they need to be careful about these drugs. Yeah. Well, you know what, Nova? I got your back. I'll be here for you. I'll be watching out for you thick and thin. Hopefully, you can work something out and stay out of prison. But if not, you got a good support team behind you. And so that's about the best we can do. And of course, the rest is up to you. You're going to have to set sail on a journey that's going to be tough, and it's going to lead you in some bad territory. But you know, just a phone call, text message, maybe even a knock at the door can help you to navigate through all of this. And I don't want to see it get worse before it gets better. Okay, yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is that you really weren't getting the support you were looking for when you got out. You would get out and run away. Yeah, and I've heard that from a few people. And yeah, I can see that you're embarrassed and you're ashamed that you relapsed. But you see, what you're going through isn't unusual. It's not like you you committed some heinous crime, like involving a juvenile or abusing the elderly. Something that would be quite shameful. And even if that did happen, talking to people can help a little bit. It's not going to change anything, but it can help you to relieve some of that built up frustration, that embarrassment, that lack of desire to make something of your life. Because our ultimate goal is just to get you to quit doing the crimes and to get back out into society and show the world that you're not as bad as a lot of them think you are. I know. Well, nothing's easy. Don't think that your life is any more difficult than mine or your parents or your siblings. They're going through tough times too. And imagine if they tried to do everything by themselves. Yeah, I know. You did. You were a great inspiration for a lot of people out here. It's just that things happen, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. Well,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I do have some people that get out, and I know you don't get a lot of money after getting out of prison, and it's tough to make ends meet. But there are organizations out there, and there are resources that can definitely help you. And I think you have the potential of being an entrepreneur. You've got some talent. You definitely are good with art. No,
You have 30 seconds remaining.
the only way you would fail at art is if you just give up. And I think that's what you're doing. You're not believing in yourself. People buy paintings. They like like tattoo. Maybe you can draw an image that a person could use for a tattoo. Well, okay, it's something to think about. Okay, well, don't be a stranger. Keep in contact. Yeah, we got it. We'll take care of you. Just hopefully you can stay out of trouble. Okay.
Thank you for using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Hello. Welcome to AQS Inmate Call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And every subject, when I get on here and discuss the things in my podcast, there's something that has an impact in my life. And I like to share the impact that it has on other people's lives as well. This subject is something that I'm recently going through, and I've seen it fail so many times. And it's something that, along with healthcare and human rights and stuff, I want to emphasize. And it deals with gate money. And that's the money people get when they get out of a prison. They don't really make a lot of money working in prison, like $1 an hour. And it's very tough to save because there's certain things that people need. They might need some over-the-counter medication like aspirin or maybe a throat lozenge. And they're spending money. The prices are expensive and they just don't have a lot of money in the first place. And then family sends them stuff. I know there's a few people that can work out deals with people on the outside. There's a way the money comes in. Coming out of prison, the resources are very slim. And hopefully family can help the person get out, get a place to live, and help them travel around and find a job. Now, I did that a few years ago, and it worked out fine. Help people get out. Sometimes picked them up, took them to places, took them to their appointments, took them to interviews. And they're the ones that make this happen. They had that drive. They did not want to go back to prison. And they wanted to change their life. They wanted to get back on the right track. And knowing that there's somebody they could call or contact, it means the world to them. Now, recently I'm working with a young lady who moved out of her hometown. She relocated to Spokane. And I'm so proud of her. She talks the talk because I emphasize that you're not going to go back to prison. You can get your life back in order. And she's got ideas that keep her motivated. She went into the work release center, and over there they try to get you jobs, and there's issues that they have. All detention centers have issues, but she's willing to put up with it because when you're teased a lot, you can either accept it and just fall apart, or you can fight it. And when she gets teased and people try to drag her down, she's got this great attitude to fight it, to prove them wrong. She doesn't do anything that's illegal, but she doesn't let it get her down. And that's what I really admire about her. She's got that great spunk. And her persistence, her ability to network got her to the point where she can get vouchers to get a home. So she was able to find a really nice apartment, which is more than I can say. I wound up living in a dorm room. I'm quite happy here, but this young lady's got herself a nice apartment, and she's able to get furniture to put in there. She got herself a nice job. Doesn't make a lot of money, but she can work overtime and she can get tips working in the restaurant. And now she's looking to get another job because she wants to get a car. And I know I can help her get a car. I know a lot of the local dealers, and I can drive her around to the lots. And, I found my car pretty much online, and she could do the same thing. So there's experiences that I have that I can share with her. And watching her get back into society after 10 years in prison is exciting. Now, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, just imagine this. You've just spent 5, 10, maybe 15 years being told exactly when to eat, when to sleep, and where to stand. Today, the gate opens, you're free. You walk out of the Washington Correction Center or Airway Heights, you take a breath of fresh air, and the Department of Corrections hands you your seed money to restart your entire life. Now, do you know how much that is? That is the standard gate money amount set by Washington state law. It was set in 1971. Now, we're going to dig into the confusion between what the law says and what budget pays and how far $40 actually gets you in 2025. Now, let's go back to 1971. Nixon was president. A gallon of gas was 36 cents. And here in Washington, the legislature decided that $40 was a reasonable amount of cash to help a released prisoner get a meal and a bus ticket. And then fast forward to today, late 2025. I'm looking at the revised Code of Washington, CW 72.02.100. It still says the superintendent shall supply the sum of no less than $40 for subsistence. 54 years later, the law hasn't changed. If you adjust $40 for inflation, it should be over $300 today. But the statute remains frozen in time. Now, if you have a loved one inside, you might be screaming at your radio or phone right now saying, wait, I heard that increased to $300. And you're right, sort of. And this is where it gets messy. This is the part that confuses everyone, even the people inside. In the 2023 to 2025 budget cycle, the Washington legislature slipped a proviso. That's a fancy political talk for temporary rule. They authorized the DOC to increase that gate money to $300. But here's the catch. They didn't change the law, the RCW. They just changed the budget for those 2 years. There was a bill, Senate Bill 5134, that tried to make the $300 permanent. It tried to lock it into law so it couldn't be taken away. That bill, it died in committee. So we are in a weird limbo. As of right now, many people are receiving the $300 because of that budget funding, but because of the actual statute still says $40. If the political winds change or the budget gets tight next year, it could technically snap right back down to $40 overnight. It's a benefit that exists on borrowed time. Now let's play a game. Let's say you get out of Airway Heights today. You get the good amount, the temporary $300. You have no clothes other than what you're wearing, which is usually ill-fitting dress outs, no toiletries, and maybe no phone. Okay, so let's go shopping in Spokane, Washington. A prepaid phone. You need a smartphone to apply for jobs, use two-factor authentication, or even call your PO. A cheap Android and a month of service at Walmart. That's $60 to $80 gone instantly. Cheap. Toothbrush, deodorant, soap, razor, that's about $25. Food. You aren't eligible for food stamps or EBT, or like we recently heard, the SNAP, the second you walk out. That takes days to process. So you need to eat for 3 days. Fast food or grocery deli, that's another $50. Transportation, a bus pass or an Uber to the Greyhound station, $10, $30. Now we haven't even touched rent. We haven't touched application fees for an apartment. We haven't bought a decent shirt for a job interview. If you get the 300s, you are broke by day 3. If you get the statutory $40, you are broke before you even finish lunch. And remember, gate money isn't a gift. It's often the only money someone has. If they didn't have families sending them money for commissary, they're walking out with zero savings. This is why the gate money debate matters. We ask people to re-enter society. We ask them to be productive citizens, but we start their race 50 yards behind the start line with empty pockets. Is it any wonder that the first thing many people do is reach out to old contacts, the bad influencers, just to get a couch to sleep on or a few bucks to survive? We want to hear from you. Did your loved one get released recently? Did they get $40 or $300? And how long did that money last? It's something to talk about. It's something that when you look into trying to help these people, we've got food banks that we can donate to. We've got, like I was mentioning, that email, you can contact people. And you can put in your mind, what would $300 do? Just kind of think about that. If you want to talk to somebody on Securus, ask that person, what do you think it'd take? And especially somebody that's been in there for a long time. I don't think they're going to say, well, if I get out tomorrow, I'll need about $100, maybe $200, and I could survive. They're probably going to get into like the quadruple digits, 1,000 or more. Maybe that can get them by. I know when people are close to getting out, and I'll see things like I get released in 6 months, I immediately start telling them to sacrifice. Try to make that toothpaste last longer. Save as much money as you possibly can. Talk to family, have them talk to or community centers. They can even talk to the potential probation officer and get some ideas, or go down to the unemployment office and look at some resources. That's usually where I find things for people. But the information you can provide somebody is great. But just picture that. They're walking out, They run out of the money after a few days, and then they have no place to go except their old friends who are probably still wallowing around in crime. And when you see a situation like that, I hope you're thinking, I could have prevented them falling back down the wrong path. We'll look at news items and we'll see like those women that were attacked on the subway system. They get on something that's inexpensive to get from point A to point B. They're trying to just relax, listen to some music, catch up on some text messaging or email, and somebody comes up and just attacks them. And you might think, if I was there, I could have given the person a ride, could have helped them, or could have sat with them on the subway. You might think of things you could have done to help. Well, there are things you can do to help prevent these things. And that's to communicate with the people while they're in prison. And then a lot of times you run across people that can be quite helpful that you didn't even realize were there. And one of the resources is you. And so you think in the state of Washington, $40 is what these people get. I went to the jail in Spokane County to visit somebody, and there was a woman standing outside. She says, I have no money. I can't ride a bus. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was able to give her some guidance. But she was just in a panic. She was just pacing back and forth in front of the jail. And I know when I had been arrested, I got out and the jail wasn't far from my home, so I just walked. But I understand what these people go through, getting out and getting nothing. And we need to get a handle on that. That's something we can do. And then we don't want people taking the $300 and going out immediately buying a bunch of drugs or wasting it on a fancy phone. When I picked up a woman a few years ago, I took her to the store and she walked in and she had no idea what the phones were like. But I was able to get her a phone. I was able to help her get into a halfway house and to get her around to the job interviews. And I was very happy with the little amount that I was able to do for her. And I also picked up another couple of people and I had added phones to my plan with the idea that they would get out, get a job, and then we would remove them from the plan. They would transfer it to another. And that works to a certain extent too. Not everything's perfect, but at least you're offering something to help them out. And these people that I did help, people that did get the phone and get the job, they're doing okay. A couple fell off. One's in rehab, but we're getting there. And I'm not going to give up on them. But once again, don't enable them. Don't hold their hand. They need to be encouraged. I will get you the job applications. I will help you fill them out online, but the rest is up to you. Don't spend all your money. You're going to have to get a job. You're going to have to get the funds yourself. And giving them the names of resources and advocates that can help them out will help us to reduce crime. But that's reality. $40. How many of you guys could, let's say you wake up in the hospital, could you just get up, get dressed, and go home? Or would you need somebody to help pick you up or send you some money? I know a lot of times it's easy to use some online transfers. Would it be easy? Have you planned for that? Have you talked to your family about that? That there's a possibility that somebody could get in the car to head off to work and then wind up in a 5-car pileup or something and wake up in the hospital. How do you plan for that? And there is that possibility you could get arrested. Just because you're a law-abiding citizen doesn't mean the law enforcement is all legal and proper. Or maybe there's just an idea that you walked into a bad situation. Being arrested isn't off the table. Being in an accident isn't off the table. And a medical emergency isn't off the table. That's something that we need to discuss regularly. And when we discuss it with our family, we learn the resources and we can share them with others. And that's why I encourage you to speak to people that are in prison. And although not everybody should be out of prison, and although not everybody is trustworthy when they do get out, the only way really to know if you're effective to this particular person is at least reach out. Don't give this person money to go waste. Don't give this person a car, but just hand some resources to them. Maybe a sheet of paper and some toiletries, a toothbrush, tampons. Maybe if you can get them. I mean, there was a time I had to give a brush and a comb. And there's folks that when people are standing on the side of the street asking for money, they'll give them a little packet with some snacks in it and some hygiene items in it. Even condoms, they'll give it to them. Something that these people really need instead of money to go buy alcohol. But it's in our hands. If you want to reach out and share your experience, we're open. Send a message to Spotify. But I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll discuss this stuff with your family because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not a promise that tomorrow is going to come bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, yet it's not also a bad thing to dread tomorrow. But tomorrow is a mystery. And if you're prepared for it, you can get through it a whole lot better rather than falling deeper than you've already fallen. And we don't want that. Well, go out and have yourself a magnificent day and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.